The 30,000-acre park was 30 minutes north of Avondale and nearly an hour west of where a passerby had found Paul's abandoned truck.
It's really rocky desert with cactus, and you've got to be careful when you go in there.
Although in this instance, one rider encountered an unexpected obstacle on the trail.
He didn't realize it until he rolled over it that there was a body there.
They discovered a male that had been mutilated, shot, beat up, possibly stabbed. It appears that he has been murdered.
The ATV riders called the authorities, but by the time the Buckeye police arrived, the crime scene had little to offer in the way of clues.
Detective Dave Owens, he had not seen anything back, and I said, what have we got out there? And he said, I've got a mess.
There were ATV tracks, there were footprints. This was a heavily used recreational area. And any physical evidence that was left around the body had been largely destroyed.
There was no wallet and no ID.
He was just a John Doe. So it really boils down to having to go to the medical examiner's office, collect the fingerprints, and try to run them through a system. And that's going to take time.
And in addition to the fingerprints, the autopsy revealed just how their John Doe had died.
There were 61 separate blows to the head, blunt force trauma, which fractured his skull.
However, those horrific injuries were only the beginning.
They found stab wounds, they found 3 separate gunshot wounds, one to his back.
Which told the investigators at least one thing about the victim and his killer.
Somebody really hated that guy.
Who was he, though? The dead man's fingerprints weren't in the system, but the killer had left behind a potentially important clue.
The only thing that could possibly identify him is his wedding ring that he was wearing, which had 3 diamonds that were in a diagonal pattern.
And in hopes of finding someone who could identify the man's distinctive ring, the investigators searched the database of recent missing persons reports.
That's where you're going to be able to possibly pull something up.
And they soon came across a potential match.
The body seems to line up with a missing person that had gone missing a few days prior named Paul Thompson.
By that evening, the Buckeye detective was knocking on Karen's door.
They were very anxious to talk to the person who reported him missing.
Karen appeared more than willing to talk to him, too.
Karen seemed very forthright about her husband's disappearance. She told police that she felt that something went wrong, that something is wrong with her husband, that this was not like him, that he was in danger.
The police suspected she was right, that Paul had been in grave danger. Although for the moment, the police didn't reveal why.
They didn't tell her that they had found Paul's body. All they told her is that they had spoken with someone who had information.
However, the detective did ask her about any jewelry Paul might have been wearing.
She described the very unique design on that wedding ring.
It was then that investigators were able to deduce that the body that they had found in the desert, covered with ATV tracks and shrouded in dirt, was the missing Paul Thompson.
But when he shared that suspicion with Karen, a strange thing happened.
She was very weirdly unemotional.
Was Karen simply in shock? Or was it something more?
Everyone grieves differently, but it was an alarm bell for police that Karen seemed so unemotional and detached.
Equally alarming, when the detective began probing for details about the couple's marriage, Karen became defensive.
Karen says, I know what you're trying to go for, but there weren't any problems in our marriage. We weren't having affairs.
In fact, Karen said she was sure Paul had been faithful to her.
In her words, he's so boring. He would never have the energy or the drive to cheat. Her husband's dead, and she's picking him apart. That was very jarring for police.
Although when asked if she cheated, Karen quickly changed her tune.
Despite the quirks in the relationship, Karen professed to police that they had a very active and very enjoyable sex life.
Whether that was true or not, Karen's attitude about Paul struck the detective as odd, and that wasn't the only thing that caught his attention either.
When they asked Karen to pin down her own whereabouts for the time that Paul went missing, she said that she was with a friend by the name of Steve.
Karen was adamant that he was just a friend.
Karen tells police that they were, just socializing, that he was going through a divorce, and that she was just trying to be there for him as a friend.
And she told the police that Paul had known all about it.
Karen tells police that Tuesdays in their relationship were set aside for days that they just did their own thing.
They respected each other's boundaries. They had time together and they had time apart.
And while Karen said she wasn't sure what Paul had been up to the night before he disappeared, she told the police that she hadn't suspected anything when she got home from dinner with Steve at around 10:30 that Tuesday night.
Paul hadn't come home yet. She wasn't terribly concerned. She went to sleep and figured she'd hear him come in or would see him in the morning.
Of course, Paul hadn't come home, and the police believed his body had just been found, which left them wondering, was Karen telling the truth? Was the mysterious Steve really just a friend? And what, if anything, did he know about Paul's disappearance? Coming up, the investigators tried to track down Karen's friend.
He's left the county, he's left the state.
And they uncover a possible motive.
The amount added up to over $600,000.
For my constipation, my doctor recommended I switch to Miralax. Stimulant laxatives forcefully stimulate the nerves in your colon. Miralax is different. It works with the water in your body, unblocking your system naturally.
Save up to $5 on Miralax. See Sunday paper.
Mary, I got a job for you. I hear you taking him astray.
You a cop? Not exactly. One more job and I'm done. It's time for me to move on.
Try to leave, he will find you and the boy.
Wrong answer. You do all that for me, huh? Sure didn't do it for myself.
Rated R.
Wendy's 4 for $4 is now better than ever because it's the deal with more variety than ever. With 8 different sandwiches to choose from, plus nuggets, fries, and a drink. So choose a double stack, or the crispy chicken sandwich, or a grilled chicken.